Hey everyone, so imagine you are at a party and someone says an offensive joke about the Holocaust. Okay, maybe it's in poor taste, fine, I'll grant you that. But what if your response to that person making the joke is to put them in a submission hold, slap handcuffs on them, and put them in a locked cage in your basement for a few years to teach them a lesson? You would rightly be viewed as someone who has lost their mind. You would rightly be viewed as a pure sociopath. So maybe everyone has heard about this. A man in the UK named Mark Meechan will be facing the possibility of spending 5 years in prison over a joke video he posted to YouTube in which he trains his dog to do a Nazi salute, among a few other stupid things that he did. Now he's facing this possible stint in prison because of a supposed hate crime and for being, quote, grossly offensive, end quote. First of all, the term hate crime obviously has the word crime in it, which makes this yet another instance where an absolutely moronic government does not understand basic justice 101. How is it a crime if no one was hurt, no one was killed, no property was destroyed, no property was stolen, and no one was defrauded? All that happened was that a person made arguably a tasteless joke. Instead of simply focusing on the hate crime and offensive aspect of this incident, focus on the fact that the UK is about to throw a man into a cage like an animal and will potentially be taking years away from his life for simply making a disagreeable joke. And one other thing I want to mention before I go on is this. This judge and these politicians and these board members have got to be among the most humorless, vapid human beings on the planet. Someone needs to sit down and explain to them how humor and comedy work. You can make fun of things you disagree with. You can poke and prod and ridicule vitriolic things to take away its power. Not that Nazis have any power anymore to begin with, but when you make a dog do a Nazi salute, you turn the entire Third Reich into a goofy-looking bunch of imbeciles, which is what they were. So this judge was not going after anything serious. This judge was just possibly ruining the life of someone who made people laugh at the expense of Nazis, not through any support of that ideology or anything like that. It is astounding that this judge and these board members could not figure this out. Anyway, back to the issue at hand. This is what libertarians mean when we say there is such a double standard for government. People have almost a split personality when it comes to their views on government. You would rightly be considered insane if you did what the UK just did. But when the government does it, even to people who disagree with this verdict, the government is just viewed as merely making a bad decision rather than being psychopathic, which is what they are. It is this weird special pleading some people do when it comes to the government. And obviously, to anyone who actually agrees with this verdict and hopes this person spends time in jail, I would pose the same situation I mentioned earlier. Would they themselves be willing to chain someone up to a radiator in their basement for years if they said an offensive joke at a party? If the answer is no, which I'm sure it would be, then they are total hypocrites, and it seems like they just get off on a government that wields a disgusting amount of power, which, by the way, is far more reminiscent of the Third Reich than a stupid joke on the internet. Additionally, that kind of government power is far more dangerous to society than any comedic YouTube ever would be or ever will be. In all fairness, the judge and all UK government officials who support this verdict are the actual ones that deserve jail time. To go back to my example of chaining someone up in your basement for making a joke, if you knew that your friend had chained this person up, and not only did you not say anything, but you fully supported it, and in fact helped make their imprisonment happen, then you certainly bear much of the guilt, and you are directly responsible for potentially destroying someone's life, livelihood, and stealing years away from someone who simply said something that might have hurt other people's feelings. If this Mark Meechan character sees any jail time, if I were a UK citizen, I would be demanding that the judges and all supporting politicians be forced out of their homes and thrown into a cage, because they are the only ones in this entire scenario who have actually caused significant, tangible, and purposeful negative effects upon an innocent man's life who never hurt anyone, never imprisoned anyone, never stole anything, and never defrauded anyone, and of course never killed anyone. The only crime here is the crime that the UK is perpetrating against this man, and I would not shed one tear to see everyone involved in this conviction being locked up, as this is a disgusting violation of basic natural rights, right on par with kidnapping and imprisoning innocent people against their will. Period. So to finish this up, let me quickly give a much needed lesson to the UK government in terms of the freedom of speech. The freedom of speech does not exist so people can say mundane, ordinary, unintriguing things. The entire point of the freedom of speech is to protect people who say outlandish, obscure, inflammatory, or out of the ordinary things. So to the United Kingdom, you are failing miserably at defending free speech. You are failing miserably at protecting the more unique and eccentric people among you. You have set a horrific precedent that will only serve to create citizens who are constantly paranoid about what they might say. You are going to create a society of people who need to look over their shoulder to see who might be in earshot, because if you say the wrong thing, the state may lock you away in a cage for years. This is not how you cultivate a healthy society. This is how you breed embitterment, distrust, and hatred among people. Before this happened, if you said an offensive joke and someone yelled at you, the simple solution would be to walk away, not listen, or try and engage in a conversation as to why what they said was in poor taste. But now the precedent has been set that an individual or a group that takes offense to something can possibly have the, quote, offender thrown into jail. You've taken a situation where two people or two groups may have just not liked each other or just avoided each other. But now, if one group can have the other group thrown into jail for saying something offensive, now you've just turned a mere disagreement or a mere dislike of one another, and you've turned it into a bitter, vitriolic hatred for the tangible things that a group has done to someone. So congratulations, UK, you have made a great leap away from anything resembling liberty and freedom, and you seem to be hopping towards an idiotic authoritarian regime. Thanks, and that's all.